What if I told you you can have a low maintenance aquarium no matter how many you have or how big it is? It doesn't have to be a small tank. I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks that if you implement, you can have low maintenance aquariums of this magnitude. There's a lot of different things that you can implement, but I'm just going to share the most important ones. So let's check this out and get right into it. The first tip would be is to understock. Don't overstock. This is a 125 gallon fancy goldfish tank, and as you can see, it's stocked lightly. Goldfish can be one of the dirtiest fish there is. They poop a lot and eat a lot. I have no issues in this tank because I don't have it overstocked. So tip number one would be don't put too many fish in your aquarium. This is going to reduce a lot of maintenance for you because you have less ammonia and waste building up. So you have way less water changes. Let's talk about tip number two. Do not overfeed and skip a day of feeding. I feed my fish every other day. Not only does this save you money on buying food, it reduces excess nutrients and stuff building up in your aquarium. It reduces fish disease, bloating, and things like this. If you feed your fish every day, you're wasting your time and money and possibly creating a recipe for disaster. As you can see here, I use nothing but high quality foods, which is another important tip when we're talking about feeding fish. High quality foods is going to be much better for, just like humans, your fish and the aquarium. Tip number three, use real plants. If you use fake plants, that's fine. You can do that, but understand it adds up no beneficial qualities to your aquarium, other than the fact it creates hiding spots. But reusing real plants not only helps reduce ammonia and nitrates, it also adds oxygen into your aquarium and helps stabilize it and make it strong and mature. And it looks better, as you can see here. If you can get easy to grow plants like jungle vile, Amazon swords, Anubias, water sprite, you can float water sprite or plant it, and it really adds to the tank and it takes care of everything I just discussed. And it's going to grow more for you. You don't have to buy any. Adding real plants into your aquarium is nothing but a benefit, which helps reduce maintenance and add to the overall healthier fish. Now, this is a big one, guys. If you have more than 5 aquariums and they're larger, like your 75s and your 125s, and you're using a Python to do all your gravel vacuuming, your water changes, and fill it, there's a much better way. I went to Lowe's and I got an 850 GPH pond pump, and I use that to suck all my water down as low as I want, right out of the window, and then I only use the Python to fill now. By doing this, you save time and you save money on your water bill. This has by far reduced maintenance in my fish room drastically. So that's an important tip to keep in mind. Let's talk about this next thing, lighting. Why would lighting be so important to reduce maintenance in your aquariums? Because if you keep your lighting on too long, 10 to 15 hours a day, all you're doing is creating a recipe for disaster in your tanks. All these lights you see here are on timers and or programmable. Keep in mind, lights are for us, not the fish. Fish would be totally fine without lights, and they actually like it that way because they feel safer. But it's fine. That's what we do. We put lights on our aquariums so we can see them and enjoy them. And if you have plants, like we discussed, they're going to need some lighting. And that's fine. But do it no more than 8 hours a day or less. By doing this, you're going to cause less nutrients building up in your tank, less phosphates, which eventually will lead to nitrates rising and other excess nutrients in your tank, causing algae blooms and algae outbreaks and cyanobacteria and you name it. It's nothing but an issue. Even lights like this that don't have a program built into them, I went out and got timers and put them on there. This also is nice because now you're not manually turning lights on and off. It does it by itself, and it creates that consistent day and night process for your fish. You can also get lights that you can adjust the percentage of the spectrums to your liking and to further reduce issues. Now, I know when you get an aquarium and you get into it and you start getting 1 and 2 and 3, you get excited and you find yourself always wanting to do something. You're always dabbling and you got your arms in the tank and you're disturbing the substrate and you're messing with crap, and that's fine. That's all part of the allure of the hobby. I do it too. But I found over the years the less you do, the best, because The more you're messing with your tanks, the more water changes you're doing, you're stressing your fish out. There are a couple fish that don't mind it, like goldfish and this golden dojo loach over here. They absolutely love water changes. They enjoy it. And when we do water changes, we're doing it to reduce nitrates, but it also adds fresh minerals back into the water, which is good for the fish as well. But the less you have to do water changes, the less you mess in your tank, it's better because you're not disturbing the ecosystem. Out in nature, that's not constantly happening other than Mother Nature says, hey, it's time to have a landslide or something. But we all know how that turns out, right? So let's talk about this next thing. Stick around for the last couple, because if you implement these into your fish room, you can have no matter what size tank, no matter what species, and have as many as you want, and it's going to be low maintenance. I have went from having to do water changes every week to bi-weekly, and now I do it monthly, and all my fish are happy, healthy, growing, colorful, having babies, and that's once a month. I get to spend more time enjoying my fish than working in my tanks. But if you want to, there's other things you can get into the hobby. You can look that up. I'm not going to discuss those here. I want to keep this video short as possible. So let's talk about this next thing. Filter maintenance, guys. Everyone thinks and downs, oh, these canister filters started leaking, or this is crap, or this hang on the back sucks. There are some filters out there that are less quality, but some of the lowest quality filters have been my longest lasting filter that I've ever had over brand name filters. Currently, I run all canisters except for one hang on the back, and I use all filter, all fluval. But a couple times a year, you got to break that thing open. You have to clean and lubricate the seals with a food grade grease to keep them supple. If you don't do this, the seals get dry rotted and cracked, and now you're going to have leaks. Also, if you have sand in your aquariums, sand gets into everything, and it will eventually wind up in your seals and cause leak. So a couple times a year, if not more, you're going to have to break these things open, whether it be a hang on the back or a canister or whatever you use, and you're going to have to clean and lubricate these seals so you don't have leaks. I can go 7 months without having to crack open my canister filters, and that's one reason why I like canister filters, because it just only adds to a low maintenance fish room. Let's talk about another one. If you have a spare tank, which is another tip, you want to have a spare tank around in case you need it. You maybe have a bully fish that you got to pull out and put somewhere. Have a sponge filter running in another aquarium that seeds and gets good beneficial bacteria build up on it. So you can take like a 10 or 20 gallon tank if you need it to fill with water, to chlorinate it, put that sponge filter in there, and it's going to insta-cycle it. So you can take that fish out and put it in there as long as the temperatures match, but you can do that yourself when you're filling it up. And it's going to insta-cycle the tank and have a place to put it. But why I bring this up is because one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't do, and that you should, and I've got videos out on this as well if you follow my channel, is you need to QT, quarantine, new and sick fish. If you don't do this, you're asking for issues, and you're asking for a high maintenance fish room. If you're looking for a low maintenance fish room, this is one of my top tips, is to quarantine new and sick fish. Put them in there, get them in there, add your medications. I'm a fan of the API meds. I will do the med trio for them. I will do the general cure, erythromycin, and Hikari's X, and I do that for a month. I like to go at least a month, so I know that, because a lot of times you get these fish, they might have something you don't see. They might look fine. Next thing you know, you put them in your display tank and all your fish get sick. Now you're mad, now you're irritated. Well, it could have been avoided by simply quarantining the fish, which is going to only reduce your stress, reduce your frustration, and make the hobby more enjoyable, making a lower maintenance fish room. Got one more thing to talk to you about, and then that'll be it. And that is time. Only time will create a strong, mature tank. From aquarium to an ecosystem. When you have a brand new tank, you have a cycled weak tank. That is a lot different from a cycled strong tank, a mature tank that's been running for quite a while, where everything is settled and your ecosystem is really strong, and it can take care of a lot of maintenance. Once you get to that point, you can get to the point where, like me, I don't have to do water changes but once a month. I can go longer if I want, but I like to do my water changes to add the minerals and just get a fresh restart in the aquarium water for the fish. So I went from having to do maintenance weekly to bi-weekly. Now it's once a month. So you just have to be patient here. But once you get to that point and you implement all these other things I've talked about, there's a lot more, like I said at the beginning of the video, but I just wanted to get to the main points here. If you implement all these things, you can have as many tanks as you want, as big as you want to get. You will get to a low maintenance fish room, and you're going to spend more time enjoying your fish like I do at this point. But there's lots of other things you can get into if you want to dabble in your tanks, and I get it. We all like to do it. It's fun to play in your tanks and try new things and aquascape. You can do that as much as you want. What I'm talking about is everyone's looking for low maintenance, easy tanks, and you can do that by implementing these things. Sorry for repeating myself. That's it. Let me know in the comments below if you have anything else you can add, and that I might don't already know. And let me know what you thought of this video. Happy holidays, be safe, Merry Christmas, and I appreciate everybody's support. Thanks again.